The escalation in Gaza marks the collapse of a fragile ceasefire that had temporarily halted 15 months of conflict between Israel and Hamas. On Tuesday, Israel launched its most intensive airstrike since January, killing at least 250 Palestinians. These multiple rounds of attacks, mostly aerial attacks, targeted residential areas in Deir al-Balah, Gaza City, Khan Yunis, and Rafah. This resurgence of violence stems from multiple unresolved tensions over the release of hostages, humanitarian conditions, and fundamentally incompatible political objectives. These are the issues that the January ceasefire temporarily tried to paper over. The three-phase ceasefire brokered by Egypt, Qatar, and the United States began unraveling because of a variety of factors, but fundamentally because of the collapse of hostage negotiations. Hamas refused to release the remaining 59 hostages unless Israel freed thousands more of Palestinian prisoners in return and also completely withdrew its military from Gaza. Israel rejected outright both of these demands. Netanyahu's office said that the strikes were responding to Hamas's repeated refusals to negotiate seriously with Israel. Hamas, in turn, has also accused Israel of restricting humanitarian aid deliveries below the agreed levels, which was part of the ceasefire. Israel blocked all humanitarian corridors just 2 weeks before the strikes. Israel also claimed that Hamas has been diverting supplies. This created catastrophic conditions for the 2 million residents of Gaza who were anyway being pounded with 15 months of conflict. The Israeli leadership maintains that the military operations which resumed this morning were essential to dismantling Hamas's capabilities and securing the release of the remaining hostages. Israeli officials have also countered Hamas with the use of humanitarian corridors to try and divert them for smuggling weapons or other resources meant to regroup Hamas's potential to hit Israel again. Now, this mutual distrust further eroded any chance of a lasting peace, and it left millions in Gaza facing severe shortage of food, medical supplies, and basic necessities.
Israel is operating with full force against the Hamas terrorist organization in the Gaza Strip. We have reached this situation after the Hamas repeatedly refused proposal to extend ceasefire and to release our hostages. Hamas rejected 2 concrete mediation proposals presented by the US Special Envoy Steve Witkoff. Israel agreed to these mediation proposals. Hamas refused them.
The ceasefire primarily served as a tactical pause rather than a lasting peace framework. Israel used this lull to prepare for its renewed offensive, while Hamas regrouped both militarily and politically, including signing a reconciliation deal with Fatah, which is the faction that rules the West Bank. This happened in July of last year. The signing of that reconciliation deal was perceived by Tel Aviv as a direct threat to Israel's security interests. There is also the changed dynamic under the new Trump administration. The US administration under President Donald Trump has adopted starkly different approaches when it comes to the Israel-Hamas conflict on the one hand and the Russia-Ukraine conflict on the other. Trump's approach to the conflict in Gaza is in sharp contrast to his stand on Russia's invasion of Ukraine. While he has consistently endorsed Israel's right to defend itself against terrorist threats from Hamas, he's also urged Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelenskyy to negotiate with Russia rather than pursue military action. This dichotomy in Trump's approach does raise some questions about his motivations. Why does he seem so eager to support aggressive military action against Hamas while advocating for restraint in Ukraine?
I told Bibi, you do whatever you want.
One explanation lies in Trump's political calculations domestically within the US. His administration has actively courted both the evangelical Christian voter base and also the pro-Israel Jewish constituency, the lobby which is very powerful. Both of these constituencies view unwavering support for Israel as a moral imperative. This base has been instrumental in shaping Trump's foreign policy agenda. They even justify military actions that are aligned with Trump's interests. His Middle East envoy Steve Witkoff and Israeli ambassador Mike Huckabee have openly even questioned the two-nation theory, which for many years both Democrats and Republicans have said is possibly the only plausible solution to this long-vexed dispute. Moreover, Trump's rhetoric often frames conflicts through a lens of American exceptionalism and also security concerns that are tied to Iran's influence in the region. Trump has positioned himself as a staunch ally of Israel against perceived Iranian aggression, whether it's through proxies like Hamas or Houthis. Trump then reinforces his image as a strong leader who's willing to confront the Islamic Republic of Iran and its proxies head-on. Despite Trump's self-proclaimed anti-war stand, he famously said that in his first 4 years as president, not a single war was launched, compared to what happened during 4 years of Biden, when both Ukraine was attacked and also Gaza was attacked after the October 7 terror attacks. Trump, in the recent past, in the last few days, has authorized more than 40 airstrikes against Houthi targets in Yemen. And this happened just days before Israel's renewed bombardment of Gaza. It clearly shows Trump's preference for military solutions only when it's aligned with America's interests or the interests of its allies. Israel's planned invasion, and this is what experts in Israel are talking about, a ground offensive, a massive ground offensive into Rafah, where Israeli military leadership believes a large number of terrorists of Hamas are still holding out. But the problem is, it's also where 800,000 displaced Palestinians have taken shelter. Even when that ground operation happens, it could exponentially increase the casualties. Previous evacuation plans and creating so-called humanitarian islands or humanitarian corridors proved to be extremely inadequate. The ceasefire that was negotiated by the US, Qatar, and Egypt now appears increasingly tenuous following the renewed airstrikes by Israel over Gaza. With both Israel and Hamas unwilling to compromise on some key issues, whether it is prisoner exchanges or humanitarian corridor access, the prospect for renewed diplomacy seems rather bleak. Also, Trump's rather disinterest in bringing this conflict to a close. Military analysts predict that unless there is an external intervention of some form or a significant shift in strategy from either Israel's side or from Hamas's side, this cycle of violence will likely persist well into its second year.